It's one of these things. I know you've got the same problem, and I heard you were talking in the previous segment where you'd like to be able to kind of go out to the ranch for a while, all right, and just watch the donkeys or whatever. Pretty hard to do. Once you get into this, I don't know that you can walk away. I don't even know that you can relax. And I have the same thing. There's part of me, I would like nothing better to go out and do some surf fishing. I'd like to be living on a beach where I could just go out there and just, cast out and catch a couple of fish and the rest of that, cook them up for dinner. The idea of breaking loose from this obsession, this calling, all right? Well, it's attractive, but I don't believe I could do it. And I doubt that you can either. You can get out on that, you can get that ranch if you want to, but you'll be back, you understand, and probably not very long. I think the most recent thing, you mentioned it before, and the most important thing, became involved in a lawsuit in 2006. I was added as the last of 7 defendants in a case that involved the manufacture and distribution of a controlled substance. The controlled substance was colloidal silver, but it's the same law that they would apply with heroin and cocaine, and it's a part of the drug laws. It was a civil prosecution by the Attorney General of the state of Texas, and they added me as a defendant. I was fiduciary for a trust. The trust was a defendant. They made me a defendant, and they're suing every defendant, including me, for $25,000 a day. That's $9 million a year. I guarantee I don't have that kind of money. And it sharpens your attention quite a bit to be sued for that, especially by the Attorney General of the state of Texas. I started reading the relevant law. And I'm a student of the Bible, and I have an understanding of the Declaration of Independence and fundamental principles, and I was just shocked. I read the law, and the definition of drugs presumes the people to be animals. And when I first saw the language, I thought, my God, these damn fools, they don't even know what they're writing. And then I saw it a second time. And then I saw it 2 more times in the federal law. First I found it in the Texas law, then I found it in the federal law, and we found it in 23 separate laws and regulations that applied in our case. And it's abundantly clear that the government has been treating the people as animals. This is the foundation of our war on drugs. The war on drugs laid the foundation for much of the modern police state. The police state gave us the prison industrial complex. And all of this is balanced on a couple of little definitions of drugs and medical devices that presume the people to be animals. We traced this back. We found it in 5 states besides Texas and the federal law. I presume it's true in all 50 states. The earliest instance we can find of this is 1906 in the Pure Food and Drug Act. First time that we've been able to find that they first referred to the people as animals. They've been doing this for a century. You understand? This isn't a new thing. This isn't something that just happened in the last, couple of years. They have been regarding the people as animals for centuries. We found it in Title VII, which is the Code of Agriculture. They define animals to include human men and women. Again, we found it in Title 28 relative to drug laws and medical devices. And I don't know where else it exists, but the fact that it exists anywhere is intolerable because... And this was the basis of our defense. I drafted a defense, again, student of the Bible. I understand that at Genesis 1:26 through 28, it says, on the 6th day, God created man in his image and gave man dominion over the animals. My Bible says that I can't be an animal. And I've got a constitution that has a First Amendment that says you can't interfere with my freedom of religion. So if you've got a law that says I'm an animal and I've got a Bible that says no, I'm not, guess what? You got a problem. You can't make that stand in court. And for what it's worth, so far as I know, I'm the first man in a century to read that law and realize what it meant. Certainly the first layman. I'm sure there have been a handful of lawyers and politicians who understood it, but most people, they don't even read the law and understand what it means. We drafted a religious freedom defense. The Attorney General went dead silent for 5 months, and then they came back, spent 5 months trying to settle a case, and then they just dropped the case after investing $500,000 in 6 years on pretrial investigations and hearings. So it's not a victory that you get chalked up in the record book, but we beat them, and we beat them with religious freedom. And it's important for this reason. It's not just an anomaly. There are people that are concerned about Obamacare, for example. Obamacare can be stopped with this same idea. Obamacare, I guarantee you, all of modern medicine in this country involves either drugs or medical devices. And both of those definitions presume the people to be animals. There is no medicine in this country, at least not licensed medicine, that doesn't presume you and me to be nothing but livestock. From the government's perspective, we're right up there with Jason and Jenny, or whatever the two names of the donkeys were from your previous guests. Just livestock. And based on that presumption, they can mistreat us, they can oppress us, they can push us around, they can do whatever they want, because we are not deemed to be men and women made in God's image. All of this is evidence of spiritual warfare. This is not just politics, it's not just law. This is evidence of something that's been, in my opinion, been going on for thousands of years. And we are now we're catching glimpses of it. We begin to see, yeah, same thing's going on now that was going on several thousand years ago. It's been going on since Old Testament times. And ultimately, it involves your relationship with the God of the Bible. That's what this is ultimately all about. If you are an animal, you're not made in God's image. If you are an animal, you are not endowed by your Creator with certain unalienable rights as declared in the Declaration of Independence. They are trying to get us to turn our back on those God-given unalienable rights, pretty much the same way Esau was encouraged to turn his back on the birthright that he received when he was first born. Jacob talked him into trading his birthright for a bowl of pottage. And later in the Bible, God says twice, he says two different times in the Bible, he says, Jacob I have loved, but Esau I have hated. I've never seen an explanation of why God hates Esau. But I think the reason he hates Esau is because Esau turned his back on his birthrights. That was a function. He was the first one out of the womb. He got the birthright, presumably, so this extends. This is an act of God's will.
And he waived his right. Alfred, I don't mean to interrupt you, but I want to talk about birthrights. I just got a call from Jesse Ventura, and I talked to Ty. Jesse was on yesterday. I'm good friends with him. Jesse, as you know, former Minnesota governor, sued over the fact, and I've flown with him, I've witnessed it. I was probably going to be a witness, by the way, to them grabbing his genitals and squeezing on him. And Ron Paul has said this has been done to him as well. He has said that he deserves his day in court. The federal judge, after waiting 4 months to rule, AP, Pioneer Press, Twin Cities reports, U.S. District Court, Ventura suit over search tossed. I got the call, and they said, we're going to have a press conference at noon tomorrow Central, and then they're going to be on the show because he promised to give us the first interview after the press conference if this happened. But then they were like, wait till tomorrow. And then I Googled it while I was talking to him, and I said, no, it's hit the news as of 8:44 Central. So we're talking 12 minutes ago. But here's this example. Now the TSA is saying they're going to be on the streets of America. So while you were talking, I normally would listen. I saw Ventura's call and took it. We're all in this fight together. But, I mean, they are setting this precedent. They're now announcing checkpoints on the streets, lamp posts that listen to you, hands down the pants everywhere, telescreens saying don't trust your neighbors, FEMA takeovers of media. It's as if hell is breaking loose. But I agree with what you said a few months ago when you were on. I want to hear you elaborate on this. But talk about TSA. I want you to talk about TSA. I've got the biblical stuff. We've covered that 3 or 4 times. People got it. It's powerful, Alfred. It's at the core of this. You've covered the root. But now the fruits of this, we're looking at this right now. I agree with you. They want soft power. They want soft takeover. Mm-hmm. It wasn't the law to take vaccines, but now people won't take them. They're trying to make it the law. When they start forcing things is a sign of weakness, not strength. Right. But what do you make of this federal security force, this TSA, this domestic defense martial law system? Why is it all in high gear right now? What is the elite doing from Alfred Adask view right now that's got all this in high gear?
I think they're desperate. I think they understand that time is running out. There was a situation where Zbigniew Brzezinski, if I recall correctly, I believe
last year.
Yeah, this goes back before that. This was while Bush was still in office, and he became ensnared in the war in Iraq. And Zygmunt Brzezinski, he was critical of Bush, and he said, "My God, you've set the New World Order back 20 years."
No, you're right. That was about 6-7 years ago, and then he said again last year, the New World Order is losing.
Yeah, they're running out of time. See, they were going to just kind of ease us into this over the course of the next 20 years or so, and they understand they're running out of time, and I think they're desperate to try to make something happen here in the next little while. And we're headed for a big conflict in a relatively short period of time, but it's encouraging to know that they are desperate. If they're running this thing right, they shear the sheep, and the sheep don't even know they've been sheared. Nobody complains. Right now, they've got things like the Occupy Wall Street movement taking place around the world. They've had the Tea Party movement in 2 years ago, year and a half, 2 years ago. The evidence is, they've got the internet, and they've got programs like yours, they've got blogs, they've got people. I mean, there's a study I saw just lately that something like 90% of the people don't trust the government. You can't run this scam if the people don't trust you. It's the whole idea behind running a confidence game. People have to have confidence in the con artist. They have to have confidence in the people that run the con game. People don't trust the government. They can't run this thing except by force. And ultimately, I don't believe they have enough force to pull it off. They can run it by deception and ensnare everyone, and that's what they've been doing.
Yeah, but once you're aware of the hat trick, once you know a magician is running a scam, game over.
Yeah, I agree. Now there's nothing left other than to try to force people into compliance, and apparently someone's made a decision to try to do that, but I don't think they can pull it off. I think they're going to see so much resistance from outfits like Anonymous, for example, hacking into computers and whatever.
Well, take Jesse Ventura. I mean, he's a regular guy, and I've been around him personally. He is genuinely pissed. He called. He said if Ron Paul's kept out of the debates, we should have revolts in the street. You know, it's like we want peace, but like 1776, these tyrants keep pushing. They have no idea that good people are 10 times more powerful than evil. I mean, there's no bully can stand up to a pissed-off good person.
They don't think that we can do it. The people that are in positions of power are there because they believe in power.
Well, look at that sack of shit. Look at that sack of shit, Janet Napolitano. I'm sorry to talk like that, but there's no other word in the English language to describe her. Look at that sack of shit, thinking she can run our lives and take our liberties and our freedoms and molest our children. I mean, she is a pathetic bucket of crap. I'm sorry, Alfred, to talk like that.
I get it. I understand. But those are the kinds of people that are attracted to power because they believe in it. And I don't think, in their mind, I think they have a hard time conceiving that the power is insufficient to control. But the fundamental issue ultimately is not power, it's consent. You've got to get the people to consent to whatever you're doing. We saw this in the Vietnam War when they tried to draft everyone and send them off to Vietnam, and it motivated. It was the compulsory military service that motivated the riots and the demonstrations. People said, hell no, we won't go. All right, right now we're seeing something like that in Greece, where we've got a different kind of compulsion. They're trying to compel the Greek people to pay this enormous debt, and the Greek people are simply saying, hell no, we won't pay. We're seeing some of that even in the Occupy Wall Street. People are just saying, look, we are withdrawing our consent.
That's right. All the globalist fluoride, all the brainwashing, once that veneer of control peels back, it's the animalistic liberty lovers that the globalist vampires are so scared of.
Yeah, I agree. And as people, again, people are losing their consent. They are refusing to consent to government, and it just puts so much sand in the gears. Government depends on their ability to con, deceive, and mislead the people. And that's being just eradicated by internet, by radio programs like yours and so on. It's the people are just sitting back and say, wait a second, this is a bunch of crap, and I'm not going along with it. And now what? The government... You know, there's only about 0.3% of the population that are police officers. And there's only about 0.3% of the population that are in the military. And if they bring them all back, they're still outnumbered close to 150, 200 to 1.
Alfred, let me stop you. My wife was watching. Our video stream is so good, it's in real time. She called up. My children are watching when I made that comment. And it's desperate of me. I'm not somebody in private who even uses profanity, but I don't have words to describe Janet Napolitano, so I apologize to my wife and children, everybody else's children. I will not do that again tonight. It's just at a certain point, I look at this criminal, this person that shipped tens of thousands of guns into Mexico, drugs into the U.S., it's come out in court, and they don't get in trouble, and it's more of a ghost dance. It's a desperate... there's no words to describe how demonic these people are. And so I apologize for the using non-King's English there.